Dave,
Tony,
Mel,
Jane,
Hema,
Susan, Janine,
Adrian,
Mary,
Terry.
and Bob.
Put a Tony to that, haven't we?
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
We'll triangle today.
What happened? I went off there. Ah. That's better. It's a nice pair of socks. No. Richard, how you doing?
All right.
Okay. You all know the story. It's the same old story. We don't teach you anything here. We don't tell you anything. We just point toward and ask you to look to where we're pointing to see and recognise what we're pointing to, that you are already that is all there is. And that's the way that non-duality expresses, the one essence patterning, shaping, forming and expressing as everything. And the Mahavakya, the great mantra is, I am that. That is what I am, that one essence. So it's very simple recognition of your natural state, or your own true nature. When I say natural and nature, have a look out there in the universe. So the earth rolling around the sun, the seasons coming and going, the tides coming in and out, when all the seasons and everything else coming, tsunamis, ice ages, all happening naturally and effortlessly. Now, and all the manifestation and pattern shapes and forms in nature are nature itself. So you must realise that that is what you actually are. You are that nature. Because it's that same intelligence, what I call intelligence, that's breathing you. It's beating your heart. It's growing your hair in your fingernails, just as you're sitting here right now, digesting your food, replacing cells in your body. That we've taken on the belief we are this separate entity, this are this individual, this are this person. But it's the one essence patterning, shaping, forming and expressing in all these different shapes and forms. Well, they call it Sat, Chit, Ananda, Nama, Rupa. Sat is existence. Anybody who is not existing in this room right now? Or not existing? No, you can't say I'm not existing, I'm sitting here, I am. Anyone who's unconscious right now? No, you're not conscious, you're hearing, seeing, tasting, touching. Anyone who's not having to be? Well, that's another way of expressing Sat, Chit, Ananda. Being, knowing, and loving to be. Anyone who's not loving to be. So, doesn't that I am that take on a different expression or something that you mightn't realised before? You've just mouthed the words. But you are that. And you innately know it. Or you wouldn't be able to say it. I am that. But what have we done? We've transferred it over to the persona, the mask, the conceptual image. I'm Bob, the Australian, the good fella. I'm a person, I'm a human being, I'm this, that and the other. All sorts of words and labels we put on. That's all the words are, labels. And we've taken ourselves to be the label, the persona. Where does that word come from? It's an ancient word from an ancient language, Latin I think it is, meaning persona, the mask. So we've got this mask of concepts. And that's all it is, a mask of, is concepts. It's not a mask of an actuality, a figure there or something there, a person there. It's the conceptual image we've added onto this vibrating pattern of intelligence patterning, shaping and forming in the concepts or the words or the thoughts or ideas I have about myself. And all these words I'm saying are concepts also. And you need to recognise that the word is not the thing. Were you born with any words? You can't say you had any words at birth, because if you had words and reasoning, the capacity of reasoning was there, you would have been able to remember your birth. But no one sitting here can say, remember the birth. You don't really know anything till you're about 2, 2.5, or maybe a bit younger, maybe a bit older. All depends on what intelligence is patterning in that shape and form. And you learnt words. You learnt words from your parents. Because they were fussing around you and telling you little Billy or your little Mary or you're this, that and the other. And you're a good little girl, you're a good little boy, or you don't do this or do that. And you learnt words like I and me when you start to learn the language. And realise from that every word you've ever spoken or ever likely to speak has been learnt. You weren't born with the labels or the words, you've learnt them all. And you've taken on board these labels because you didn't know your little Johnny or little Mary till you learnt that word. When you learnt words like I and me. That's in the natural picking up on the language. And then what's the translation? I am little Johnny, who's a good little boy or not so good. Or as we go on and get older, I've had an unhappy childhood, or was abused, or I'm not good enough, I'm introverted, or I'm shy, or whatever labels have gone on, added onto it. To give this patterning, shaping, forming expression of reality a seeming identity, or because we've taken on the belief we are separate. Each pattern, shape and form is a unique expression. But we've taken on that unique expression to be separate and apart through the words which divide and separate it. But when we learn words like I and me, and the capacity of reasoning starts to develop at that age when you pick up these words, you can't do much with I or me. So the little child watching, when he's looking out there and he's saying, realise that I am little Johnny, looks out there and he says, that doesn't fit little Johnny. That appears separate from me, that's not me. So that's when the sense of separation comes upon us. And with separation, especially in a little child at that age, you don't know what it is, then you're unsure of it, so you can be fearful or anxious about it, or wondering about it, but it's not, you can't say it's you. So that sense of separation comes about, and with it comes insecurity, because you don't know what it is at that stage. You don't know what these things around you, and especially if it's a cat or something like that, and you pat it and it scratches you. Well, what the hell's going on here? Or put your hand on an insect, or an insect stings you, or something like that. So that with that sense of separation comes insecurity and vulnerability. And that's when the search actually starts, because from then on it becomes a search to find out what we are, to become secure, whole and complete, because we've taken on the idea we're separate. And that's when all the problem starts, because we've learnt these words and we start to take the words to be real. The energy of belief goes into them and they're taken to be real. And so this is me, this is I. And that's not me, that's not I. So what am I? Well, I'm Bob. Tell me my name is Bob, I'm an Australian, tell me I'm a good fella. Some think I'm a good fella, some think I'm an arsehole, or whatever, or bad. And the concepts go on. And the concepts that don't fit what I think I should be or think I am, I get upset about them and distressed, anxious and fearful. And I want to keep the concepts, the good concepts. Hang on, put more onto them. But all these concepts or words become what we call the reference point. Now I've got this label on me, maybe I'm the good fella or not so good. And that reference point is the self-centre. The ego is the self-centre or reference point. We've taken that point of reference or centre, egoic centre, and this is what I am. Instead of being that, now I am this body-mind entity. I am that as being everything that expresses in different pattern shapes and forms. And we put different labels, shapes and forms on the things, but the thing is now we take the labels, shapes and forms to be the real. And it seems to make that pattern, shape and form real, doesn't it? So then I become this just this pure being, having this awareness of being. Now I've come on to tell me with the language, I am a human being. A different sort of being to the other beings that are all around me. But everything without the label, and we're the only ones, human patterns are only the ones that are putting labels on things. Now other animals, birds and insects and things like that will see things as they are. And if you look around the room right now, without the label on anything, instead of saying it's a chair, it's a carpet, it's the pictures on the wall, it's the wall, you'll know what everything is without putting the word or the label on it. You'll see the different patterns and shapes and form they're expressing in, and you'll recognise what they are. And it helps to put the label on. When we take the energy of belief and think it's something that exists on its own and separate from anything else, then we're in a problem. Now, this selfishness, self-centered or ego, the reference point, everything comes relative to that. And relativity or relationship is ego, self-centered. It's relationship, and relationship or relativity is dualism. And we're pointing out that everything is non-duality. It's the one essence, even though it's seemingly pattern expressing as all these different pattern shapes and forms, it's still the same intelligence energy that's forming it, patterning it, expressing it. And the intelligence energy itself, or the godliness, when we put a word like God on it, we've taken to be something separate again, a higher power or a greater power. Not seeing that it's one that's omnipresent, it's total power. Omnipotence is total power, and omniscience is total intelligence. Instead of seeing it as a totality, we're seeing the pattern, shapes and forms and taking them to be real. Instead of they're just seeing they're just other patterns and shapes and forms of the same essence. Put the energy of belief in them, and so there's me and that out there which I can't say is me, the not me, which is separate from me. The sense of separation comes and the insecurity comes. Invulnerability. I don't know what this can do to me, can hurt me. All based on the word. Now, as I said before, none of you were born with any words. How could you be? When the brain was just forming then, and the body, all the organs and the organs were just forming when you were in the womb, you didn't have any words then. When you came out of it, the reasoning hadn't developed, but you were seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, the functioning was going on, breathing, heart beating, everything was going on, but the capacity of reasoning hadn't developed, and that capacity of reasoning is when the things come through the brain and we start to work it out from there with that sense of presence that they're there. So when we learnt these words and realised that every word you've ever spoken or ever likely to speak has been picked up along the way, it's been learnt. If you know that and see that, you'll realise you can't be a word because it's something that's been picked up along the way. It's not you, what you are actually. But we've got this conceptual image, I'm Bob the Australian, and we believe I am that image based on the word. I'm a conceptual image. That's what I've taken myself to be, never questioning, because all the parents didn't question and tell us to look and see whether it's true or not. Your schools don't tell you that. Society, everybody around you don't tell you that. But there's always been a few down the ages that have recognised it. And that's where the great traditions, that religions and everything else have come about from. The Word. It tells you in the Bible, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, the Word was God. All things were made by Him by the Word. There was nothing that wasn't made without the Word. So that's when we take the separation on them and put the label of the Word on them and take it to be real. We think all these things, trees, flowers, earth, globe, me, you, and everything in it are separate entities, separate things, appearing in the basic space of emptiness. Space like awareness. Emptiness suffused with that awareness or knowing. And the Buddha told you that a couple of thousand years ago, and he said that emptiness is form. He called it a cognizing emptiness. An emptiness suffused with intelligence or knowing. It's another name for intelligence, is knowing. And the knowing that you are is the intelligence that's functioning through that body right now. And he said that emptiness is form. And he turned it around the other way and said the form can be nothing other than emptiness. When he's saying emptiness is form, space is empty. There's nothing you can postulate or think of that could be outside of space. Where would it be in? What could it be in? There wasn't such a thing as empty space. So all this manifestation, if a space is all there is, can anything take place outside it? So could any of these forms be outside of space? And if they're not outside of space, in actuality, there must be the space itself. You don't have to be a road scholar to work that one out, or it'll load you. So when he said emptiness is form, and the form is nothing other than emptiness, he's pointing out the oneness of it all. The onlyness. That's all there is. The oneness. So we've got this sense of separation, this idea of being, taking ourselves to be separate and apart from everything else. But have a look at that. See, if you are separate, that's what we say. Have a look and see for yourself to what we point to. Are you separate for yourself? What's that body? You think, I am this body, and this body is separate, but is it? Have a look and see, investigate it. What's that body might end? And you know, you are not the body. Because you say, my body. Whose body does it belong to if it's my body? You say, my car, my house. You don't say, I car, I house, or my shirt, or my shoes. You say, my. Or the same when you say, as soon as you say my body, you're taken to believe it's something that somebody or something owns. It belongs to something else. My mind, it's the same thing. So innately we know we're not the body and the mind, though we keep referring to it and relating to it and believe it until it's really questioned and looked into. Are you the body? Investigate and have a look. What's this body made up of? Isn't it made up of elements? Air, earth, fire, water, space. Just the same as the elements around you. So it's made up of elements, that's all it is. It's a body made up of elements. And if you think you're separate, an individual, a separate entity, a person, separate yourself from those elements. Separate yourself from air. Stop breathing. See how long you last without air. Separate yourself from the water. Your body's 80 or 90% water, 80% water, I think it is. Separate yourself from that. Separate yourself from the body temperature, the fire, heat, fire. You soon get hypothermia and die. Get off the earth, if you can. What are you going to live in? You'd live in space. Get out of space, if you can. So you see, you're not separate from those elements at all when you look at it. But the pattern, shape and formed and is expressed through is what they call the play of consciousness, or in their terms, the sport of Shiva. Shiva is the static aspect, the stillness, the silence, the emptiness. And Shakti they depict as his consort, the female aspect, is Shakti. Shakti dances, or another way of putting dancing, it vibrates. Energy vibrates. And that vibration forms pattern, shapes and forms. So the whole manifestation that's appearing, seemingly so, is that vibrating dance of the Shakti, the energy. Shakti is another name for energy. So it's constantly vibrating and expressing, all naturally and effortlessly by itself. If you start to recognise that and know that, what are you going to do? Instead of taking on the idea, we take that I'm this person, this entity, that I'm going to become something or get to somewhere. When you try and recognise, which doesn't take much recognising, and abide and settle in to life itself, instead of going against the flow, which we do as separate entity, be with the flow, be with the nature itself. And that's when people say that they seem to be in the zone, and they just flow with that nature and recognise it. It becomes a lot easier. And that's what happens when you recognise your true nature and settle down into it. Instead of trying and resisting and in conflict all the time, instead of trying and resisting, be as they say, be as you are, be what you are. Don't try to be something else, which we believe we are, this person, this individual, this human being, and we suffer accordingly. For a simple reason, we've got a static point there. Instead of realising that everything is constantly changing, it's all vibrating and moving on. And it's transient, this whole manifestation is transient, it's constantly changing. You haven't got the same body you walked into this room with. There are thousands of cells dying in that pattern you call you right now, and being replaced. From the food you've eaten and the breath, the prana and the air, they're being replaced right now. So how can you say you are this body? What about this thing called mind? Again, we call it my mind. Whose mind is it? Is it the body's mind? Or is the mind in the body, or the body in the mind? Have a look at that one. The body must be in the mind to say my body. But where's that mind? We say the mind's somewhere within it. Try and pinpoint, try and find it if you can. Try and find a static point anywhere in that body. And what is mind? When you realise that mind is nothing but thought. The capacity of reasoning, the capability of thinking, came along with this reasoning ability. And these words we've learned. And when you realise this thing you call mind, nobody can stand up right now and say, this is mine, can you? If you can, tell me about it. See, there's really no such thing. But we've taken this thinking progress, this vibrating patterns that are going on it, and forming letters, concepts, words and ideas along with lots of other things. We've taken the word to be real. And we form this conceptual image of what we believe ourselves to be. A conceptual image. An image made up of thoughts. And these thoughts are based on past events, experience and conditioning. Not what these present thoughts are now, because the present thoughts that come up, you'll see, are related to some previous experience or patterning or understanding you've had that you're reinforcing or bringing it up again. Constantly in conflict. And Shakespeare told you that 400 or 500 years ago. Nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Good, bad, what are they? Two words. If you're not using those two words, good and bad, what can you say about it? Pleasant, painful, happy, sad, loving, hating, positive, negative. Look at this thing you call mind, the thinking process, the vibration. See how it's vibrating. Vibrating dualistically into the words we've learned. Because the words are functioning in the pairs of opposites. Good and bad are opposites. Pleasant and painful are opposites. Happy and sad are opposites. And the boundaries we put upon, the limitation we put upon are these words. Good, bad, pleasant, stops there. What are you without the word? Can you give yourself any name, any shape? Are you bound into any conceptual image? Or just to expand into that freedom of being? Doesn't mean to say we have to do away with words. Words can be very useful in the functioning, and they will be useful. But what we've done, instead of utilising the words, we've allowed the words to use us. I'm unhappy, or I'm depressed, or I'm anxious, or I'm fearful. The belief in those words go in, the vibration goes on, and forms the anxiousness, the fear, the depression, the guilt, the shame, remorse, and the subtle joy that comes up. You're not labelling it. But we don't label it for very long. And the opposite will come up again because we go back into some past memory that wasn't so good. And the sadness will come up, the fear, the anxiety, the stress. Nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Nisargadatta tells you the same thing. Nothing can trouble you except your own imagination. What we are imagining. Break that word imagination down to image in. Imagine. And isn't that what we're doing? Creating mental or conceptual images in our head. There's a tree, I like it, I don't like it, that's a wall, it's good, or that thing's bad, this is pleasant, that's beautiful, that's ugly. Imagining concepts, putting conceptual images on all these things, taking the concept or the image to be real. Not realising they're all transient, all constantly changing, and they're just like the water in the mirror, the image in the mirror, I should say. Drive up to the mirror. You can't say the images are not there. Try and grab an image out of the mirror. All you'll do is grab the mirror, a reflection or an image. And could those reflections be in the mirror if there wasn't that reflecting surface to appear on? There's a pane of glass or window alongside it. What reflections are in that? Until you put a backing on it, there's no reflections, you're just seeing through it. So that's a poor analogy because the mirror needs something outside itself to reflect in it. But there's nothing outside this presence awareness, this activity of knowing, this pure intelligence. But if you see a rainbow in the sky, as the sun shining through the mist is shining and reflecting on that as colours on that blue sky. But even the sky is not blue. Drive up go up 30 or 40,000 feet in an airplane, where's the blueness? It's further out. Go down to the ocean and get me a bucket of blue water out of the sea. Every bucket of water you'll pull out, there'll be no blueness in it, it'll be clear. So we've taken on these beliefs, conceptual images, to be real. And we are bound in them. That's your bondage. The bondage of belief. Who wants to be tied up in bondage unless you're into B&D or something like that? You might get something out of it then. Who wants to be in bondage? Well, that's what we point out here. It doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be. A little bit of questioning, a little bit of investigation, a little bit of seeing for yourself, and it comes about. Now look how it works in your life. Everybody is seeing right now, everybody is hearing. Something comes up, and you say this, I see this, and I like it. How do you know you like it? Well, I've had this before. It was good, it was pleasant, I like it. And naturally, we don't want the good things to go. We want to keep them there. We don't want the things we like to disappear, not realising that they are transient anyway. No matter how much you love them, now how much you want to keep them there, they're going to change. They're going to either leave you, die, or move away. George's thoughts are constantly changing. No matter how much you want them to be there, they're not going to stay. But what do we do? Because we're so taken in this belief of a separate entity, we want to keep them there. We want to keep the good things. So instead of letting them be, we try to keep them there. In that trying to keep them there, we resist them from going. Any resistance you are in conflict. Resistance is conflict. And any conflict you are in makes you uneasy, anxious, fearful. It's uneasiness. Conflict is uneasiness, or another name for it is disease. So there is resistance, conflict and disease going in you. Something comes up and I don't like this one. How do you know? I've seen it before and I don't like it. Got to get rid of this one. So again we try to force it out, resisting it again. Again there's resistance, conflict and disease. It's not the word that's doing it. The words are not doing anything at all, whatever labels you put on it. It's the energy of belief that's going into the belief that there's me that doesn't like it, me that doesn't want it. So that's what our life is made up of resistance, conflict and disease. Isn't it going on all the time? And in between that resistance, conflict and disease comes sometimes there's a sense of well-being, which we like, but that doesn't last. A sense of joy, that doesn't last. Then the fear or the anxiety or the stress will come up. That doesn't last either, but we fixate on them and keep it there with the very resistance to it, keep it there longer than it should be. It's constantly transient, everything. There is no, where are all yesterday's words now? You realise they're gone. Where are yesterday's feelings, or last week's feelings? Now some might hang around because the energy of belief goes in and keep it there longer than they should be. And it doesn't have to be that way. There's no word fixated in your head anywhere. They're constantly transient. And to see this transient that's going on right now, you haven't got the same body you walked into this room with. You might believe that you have, but when you question it, you'll see there's thousands of cells dying in it right now, so it can't be the same. You haven't got the same body you had last week or 10 years ago. realising again it's been transient, it's changing all the time. What have you done to change it? Is it happening naturally, inevitably? So we recognise that this ego or self-centred or reference point is the cause of all our problems, the cause of our fears, our anxiety, stress, guilt, unhappiness, and they are the results of the cause. And they're the effects of the cause, me. That's all the so-called karma is, cause and effect. We talk about karma and this, I've got this karma I've got to work on and blah, 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 and it's going to get me sooner or later. All karma is cause and effect. What if I'm not relating to any cause? If I ask myself the question, can there be a cause without the effect? And you realise there can't be. That's the way all things are going. All the cause and effect of things happen. You know? And it's all right in certain cases. But when we put it on ourselves and taken this me to be the cause of all my problems, this persona, you know, it becomes a problem. If it began to be a cause and effect without relating to the cause, you realise there can't be. And you realise that me, this conceptual image I have about, is the cause. Then you must realise the cause, the effects that are coming about in this body, all the different changes are made by that cause, me. And the me is the belief that I am this separate entity, this individual, this person. Wouldn't it be, if you want to get rid of it, wouldn't it be true to investigate and see what's so there or not? We see the resistance is going up constantly because we resisted. Who is there to resist it? Who is this me that's going to resist it? Is it me, Bob, the individual, the person, that's a good fellow then? Isn't that a group of concepts? What substance has it got? And, well, it's this body. Well, isn't this body made up of elements, as I just pointed out before? Has no substance to it, that's separate and apart and can stand on its own? Well, who am I relating it to again? You realise there's nothing to relate it to, there's nothing there. There is no entity there at all, or no person that has any substance or any independent nature. Doesn't stop the fact that I'm seeing, the seeing is happening here, the breathing, the heart beating here, and all things are happening, expressing through this pattern, just like all things are happening in space. There's the sun, the planet, the stars, and everything else is out there. Take themselves to be separate from it. But just the same, in this body, the what do you call it, the little atoms of whatever parts and things like that are racing around. The cells and DNA and all the rest are racing around and forming and doing things all the time. They're not separate from the body. They are, but they're not. Because they're made up of the same body stuff, the same stuff as what's outside. Same as all the things in space and everywhere. It's all the one essence that has this capacity of patterning, shaping and forming and vibrating into different patterns. But none of them are separate. When it says in the Hing Sing List, make the smallest distinction, however, in heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. What's heaven? Space, or the sky. We call that, look up to the skies, to the heavens. And the earth, something are rolling around it. Are they apart? Are they separate? Try and separate the earth from space. Just the same as we're saying here, try and separate yourself from anything else within it. Might appear to be so and be seemingly so. But isn't that earth constantly and all the other planets racing around in space? Where would it run? What could it race around? What could it do without it? What can we do without the silence, the stillness and the emptiness. But we think we're going to alter it, change it, do something with it. So you look and investigate this me and see if it's there. You're seeing right now and you're hearing right now. Isn't that a fact? Of course it is. There's seeing happening with you, through you, and hearing. But ask yourself this. Does my eye tell me I see? Well, my eye is not saying, look at this, Bob, look at that, that's good. Oh, I look over there, look at my eye doesn't say anything at all. Does yours? But the seeing is happening through the eye. What could you see if you didn't have any eyes? So the seeing is happening through the eye, and it's translated by the thought. How could it be translated if you didn't have any thoughts? Into the thought, I see. But it's not a pure seeing then anymore. Because there's this conceptual image you got about yourself. Me, Bob, thinks it can see. But that's the word we've learned that translates as the actual functioning of what the seeing is going into the thought I see, which forms the subject. Me, Bob, the Australian, the conceptual image, becomes the subject who thinks it is seeing. The same with the hearing. Hearing is happening through the ear. My ear is not saying, listen to this, Bob, listen to that, that's good. How would I know? You know, yeah, my ear was being told that, but the ear's not saying, it's coming up as a thought. I hear, which translates into the words we've learned. I hear. But can the thought I see the thought? Now we've translated the words and think the words are doing the job. Now can the word I see actually see? Close your eyes, look around the room and see what you can see with your eyes closed with the word. And you realise you can't see anything at all. All you'll see is the darkness behind your lids. There's nothing. So you realise that the thought I see can't see. This thought up image, this conceptual image, which is taken to be the subject, me, cannot see. Yet I'm saying I see. Given this to this believed in conceptual image, the fact that the idea that it can see. Put your hands over your ears and see what you can see with the thought I hear. With your ears blocked off, the thought itself can't hear anything. The thought I am aware. I'm alive, I'm aware. Anybody unaware right now? If you're not unaware, you must be awake, you must be aware. The thought I choose. We think we choose our thoughts, we're that smart and that wonderful. Why would you ever choose an unhappy, miserable, or anxious, or angry, or fearful thought if you could choose them? Do you choose to be that way? You don't. I don't. You might. So you see, the thought I see can't see, the thought I hear can't hear, the thought I'm aware is not your aware, the thought I choose can't choose. That thought up entity, that ego, that egoic image, a conceptual image, cannot do anything at all. But we believe, I do this, I think this, I love that, I don't like this. We've reinforced it day in and day out for years, so it's seemingly solid, but of itself, it has no substance or any independent nature, and it is a fiction. A fiction is a belief about something that is not the actual. And that's the definition of belief. Unquestioned acceptance of something in the absence of reason. Acceptance of an alleged fact without positive knowledge or proof. So if you know the truth about it, and the scriptural saying is know the truth will set you free. They tell you what to do to recognise or understand or know the truth. And you'll be free. What do you need to be free of? The only thing you can ever be free of is bondage of belief. The bondage has got you encapsulated in a conceptual image. You're like the little grub that builds a cocoon around itself and encapsulates itself in the cocoon. But sooner or later it's going to grow and bust out of that cocoon. And that's what needs to happen. Sooner or later, recognising that you are in that bondage of belief and the separate entity, you'll see, expand yourself to what you actually are. The totality. Always have been and always will be. That's all we point out here. And got the rest of them. The waiting to ask questions. If you've got that, if you're stuck with anything, or if you've looked into yourself and you've got ideas and things about it, tell us about it. It might help somebody else be able to see and those little lines, and there are people that look along lines here and can tell you more about it. So but don't hesitate to question if you've got any. Because it's only you, through the questioning, that you'll see the falseness of the questioning and recognise the truth. Only you by investigating. So you might have heard it that somebody will come along and hit you between the eyes with a thumb or a forefinger and open up a third eye and put you in the freedom, or pat you on the head with some peacock feathers, or transmitted by waving his hand over you or giving you the long glance, unblinking. None of them are going to do it. Because it's only you and you alone, through that energy that's generated, that's going through you now and resonates when it recognises, recognises and hears the truth. That's what will happen. The recognition or the resonation will go with you. And resonate, and why? I've always known this. It's always been so. But it's lost sight of along the way because we've taken on what our parents, school, society have told us and everybody around us has told us, and I started reinforcing it myself with that commissioner and kept reinforcing it up until the moment it's seen through. And once the false is seen as false, and you've recognised many things in this world as false, do you still believe them? No. You know you can't believe it anymore if you see it's false. But you might utilise or use it for something, but you know the truth about it. And that's all that needs to happen. Away you go. We'll have the first question from the pesto. Cat. Pesto the cat. What do you want to know, cat? Give me some, baby. Give me some good out.
So, thoughts aren't really necessary. Would that be?
Well, have a look at it. You couldn't get on too well in the world without thought.
But a lot of it's that psychological bullshit.
Yeah, that's not necessary.
Sorry. Yeah. I mean, it's so useful if I've got an idea to do, you know, I know there's no I, but okay, an idea to create something or whatever. But 99% of it's that useless shit.
You don't believe in Santa Claus, do you?
No.
Well, you'll still use that if you've got kids or something like that, because you know it gives them pleasure or something like that. You'll still utilise a word. But as long as you're not bound in it,
yeah.
you're free of the belief. You can use whatever words you like, and you probably will.
Yeah.
And you can't take them on board and beat yourself up with a word any longer.
Yeah.
But somebody you might call an arsehole or something, they might take it on and beat themselves up. It's not going to hurt you.
So
was quite beautiful what Bob just said. I don't know if I heard that before about the grub. He said at the end of the spiel, the grub building up the cocoon of beliefs around itself and encapsulated itself in that cocoon of beliefs. I've seen a little quote on Facebook, the sky is not a limit, your belief system is. So that very belief that tells me that I'm insecure, I'm vulnerable, I'm not worthy, I'm individual, a person, a mask, that is the cocoon. Once, and what you said also, that the grub is growing up and emerging out of the cocoon.
Comes out as a beautiful butterfly.
And as a butterfly, the
All the
sky,
colours and everything about
yeah,
it.
and the sky opens up for it. It just flies out into the sky. It doesn't have this limiting belief that I'm nothing, I'm just a grub, I can't move, I can't, you know, it's such a gorgeous analogy, because the amount of freedom when we could imagine the little grub and the butterfly, the comparison, the freedom is only, the mobility is an analogy. But generally a freedom that it gives after the transformation into a butterfly. So when you believe yourself to be a human, and then you just throw off that capsule of being human, and now you're nothing, or you consciousness, or you God, or whatever you want to call it, but you're just totally free. You that space for everything to come up as it is without relating it to poor little me. That's really a freedom incomparable to being encapsulated in that belief of being limited. That was beautiful. I didn't hear it before.
So, in a sense, we just see the cocoon or the beliefs as not real. In
Yes,
a sense.
that's all you need to know. That's all you need to see. Because as Bob said, the water in the mirage will still look like a water in a mirage, and rainbow will still look like a rainbow, and the sea and sky will still appear blue. But you know they are not.
Yeah, so I can still see the cocoon.
Totally.
But
You
it's-
yeah. And you can laugh at it.
Yeah, and it's not real.
Like if you don't believe it anymore, like you see, when you believe in a Santa Claus, it kind of is very serious. You have to be a good boy because otherwise, you know. But if you don't believe it, and you still see Santa Claus, it makes you smile. So believing, I don't believe I'm human, it makes me smile. There is a sweetness in that belief, in taking up that role, or any other role, or believing that you are human also. And it doesn't bound you anymore, or bind you, I don't know how to say.
You don't want to ask them any questions, guys. I think I've asked them all.
Yeah. But the problem with when you see the beliefs and then you don't believe yourself to be one thing, the mind will very quickly tell you, okay, I'm not this, I'm that. Okay, I'm not the person, I'm God. And now the identification with another idea comes about. And now, oh yeah, okay, but so can I do anything? Can I get what I want, everything? Or can I manifest? No, this is not changing, trading one belief for another. Because that's the realm of thinking again.
It's a bit like I'm prepared to let go of the ego, totally, but what's in it for me?
Yes.
And that other thing that just popped in my head too, Melvin, you know that saying, I've heard you say it, Bobby, sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. It's actually the reverse. Sticks and stones won't break my bones, but by Christ, names hurt me.
A who is a hurt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bunch of beliefs.
Yeah.
Rubbish.
Yeah. All that's really happening when you look for yourself and see for yourself, all that's really happening, the only thing that's in conflict is thoughts. Only. Yeah, there'll be the thought of self, and then there'll be, you know, we give names to it like an inner critic, you know, the dialogue that goes on in our head, you know, and we think the inner critic is talking to me, you know, or it's being critical of me. But all it's being critical of is another bunch of thoughts, saying that's not all right for the inner critic to be saying that. What do I need to do to improve myself so that the inner critic will no longer be critical of me? but but all that's really happening, it's all thought patterns, and the strongest thought pattern that arises for us is I am. That's the strongest. I am. There is a me. I am here. I am seeing. I am hearing. I am. I am aware. You know, and we can get confused with that when we start to listen or start to grasp this. You know, we. It's a bit like what Kat was saying before. You know, you kind of transfer one belief for another belief. Yeah, okay, so I'm not the me. What I actually am is no thing or everything. Okay, yeah, I get that. Who gets that?
Yeah.
Who gets that? You know, so it's just another transfer of a belief, if you like. But the strongest one is I am, and we believe that it's the I am that's aware. We believe that it's the I am that's even getting this understanding, starting to see it, like what Kat said. You know, like, okay, yeah, I'm not the me, and I'm everything. Yeah, okay, that sits better. do you know what I mean? Yeah. So really, and it's often referred to as a dream. You know, like what rattles on, seemingly between our ears, doesn't actually rattle on there, but seemingly between our ears. That content, like all those thoughts, the inner critic, the dialogue, the images that we see in our mind, when we're supposedly awake, by the way, walking around, yeah, doing our daily things, that content, all of that, if you really see it, it's no different from the content that arises when we're asleep on the bed at night, dreaming. It's the same shit. And there'll be a character in the sleeping dream that feels real, totally feels real. You can experience a whole gamut of things. That dreamed character, when you're asleep dreaming at night, laying on your bed, not actually moving, not going anywhere, yeah. That dreamed character can experience fear, love, lust, anger, a whole host of things, yeah. And in the dream, it absolutely seems real. Absolutely seems real. And the same thing's happening here. It seems real. It seems like there is a me here. It seems like there is a character here. Yeah? And the irony of all this is the dream character in the dream, yeah, can't possibly know or experience what it's like to be awake when you wake up in the morning. But it wants to. So in the dream, whilst you're asleep, yeah, in the dream, there's a character in the dream, yeah, searching for itself, wanting to know its true self, wanting to, and it's even got a concept or an idea of what waking up might be like, yeah. And what it wants to do is it wants to wake up from the dream. Is it possible? What happens to the dream character when one does actually wake up in the morning? What happens to it?
Gone with the dream.
It's just totally gone. You know, the character and the content of the dream, the content that the character in the dream is supposedly experiencing, the exact same thing is happening here. So the notion of this character trying to get this or grasp this or have this or awaken to this is total fiction. It can't. So, but what you can do, not that there's anyone that can do it, but there can be the realization, if you like, that it is a dream. It is a total dream. There's no difference. So, and there's no doing in that. There's literally just a seeing. You don't have to attain anything or practice any spiritual practices, or it's literally just seeing. Yeah, but seeing the dream. Seeing the dream. Seeing it. You know, and you know, that pattern of thought that arises, I am, that I am pattern of thoughts, is just a pattern of thoughts. And it's that I am pattern of thoughts that's trying to find itself, or is trying to get this. So it's seeing the I am pattern of thoughts. It's part of the dream. It's just, or thoughts, just patterns of thoughts, patterns of thinking, images, and we can imagine all sorts of images, or not we can, but all sorts of images come up, all sorts of thoughts come up, and we take that content, including the dreamed character, to be real. So it's just seeing that.
Yeah.
Really, it's as simple as that.
A beautiful explanation.
Mary, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, the thing is, if you watch yourself continuously when you're doing things, sooner or later you start realizing that a lot of stuff you didn't even, that order, that command didn't even come from you.
Yeah.
You become aware of it. And by watching that, then you see that you're not the doer.
Yeah.
You're not doing it. And in other words, you're not there. I mean, the body's here. It looks it's here, but it's not.
Yeah, the dream character thinks it's got free
Yeah.
will.
Yeah.
It thinks it's doing. It thinks it's in control of the body. It thinks all this delusional stuff. Mary's spot on. If you just start, like, it's, you can observe the thinking that kind of happens, and the me patterning, the I am pattern that arises. You can also observe the body and the millions of different things that it does throughout the course of the day that's got nothing to do with your dream character. It's just happening.
Keep watching your actions, even when you drive.
Even when Mary just scratched her nose then.
That's right. I didn't even order it to scratch it.
Yeah.
It's exactly right.
So there's stuff, this is being moved regardless of that, regardless of the dreamed character. Just happens.
Yeah.
And then the me steps in, or the dream character steps in a split second later and says, I did that.
Yeah, we think we're doing it all.
Or I see, or I hear, or I smell, touch, that, blah, blah, blah.
I think the problem is that we're so used to that everything that we do, somebody is behind has got to be doing it. And the mind can't accept what you just said, that it just happens.
Yeah, but you can witness it.
Yeah.
You can
I
actually
understand.
start to see it. Can start to see it.
As Bob has always said, the energy of belief has gone into that for so many
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
years,
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
You
And
gotta
by the
pack
way, I
pattern.
haven't used that word inner critic probably for decades, okay?
Mm.
But I'd never taken it past, the inner critic, I'd never realised, I'd never taken that far to see who's it being critical of, it's a good point. Yeah.
All resistance is only thoughts.
Yeah.
In resistance with one another.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that's happening.
Yeah, that's good.
That's all that's happening.
Mm.
If you don't like my ideas, my thoughts get offended at that. Like, that's all. Yeah, and vice versa, and even just my own thoughts. There's going to be conflict going on in here.
And we allow the thoughts to control us, really. We become a slave to the
Well,
thoughts.
we become the thoughts. We believe that what we are
That's right.
is that. We actually
That
believe.
we are thinking that.
Yeah, I'm suffering.
Yeah.
There's thoughts that are suffering. There's just ideas of thoughts, a belief, just a belief system that's going on in there, and that just needs to be seen.
In the book, the Nisargadatta, said the one who's having the thought is the thought itself.
Yes, totally.
So there you are.
That's
When
so
you when you know it
perfect.
all,
That's so,
think of that.
that's so perfect, because it is. It is. No thought, nothing happens. Zero.
Everything is good.
Wipe out your memory, you disappear.
I think another word for I am, I understand Nisargadatta uses a lot I am, but I think we're used to it. When we say I am, we always want to put another word next to it. Right? But I think if we use I exist, then it sort of stops there. I exist. Well, that's it. You don't have to put I am this or I am that. So I just exist. I think it means the same thing anyway.
The I am just sharpens the looking, the search. It just sharpens it.
Well, I think it's the other way. The I am, because like I just said, I think when we say I am, we always want to put
I am what?
I am what? I am another something, you know.
Absolutely.
Good, bad, rich, poor, whatever.
Even
So if I say I exist, well, you don't really want to
It
put in the
stops
other
there.
words after that, do you?
Yeah,
Yep.
beautiful.
I
I
can
think
only
it-
cope with there is.
Hey?
Anything else, this head starts reading all sorts of shit in. So there is, I can't do I or am.
even the I am, that's the beginning of the split.
Mm.
That's where the duality starts. I am. And you know, it might go from I am Tony, and then the big story that gets attached to that, which is usually your history and your memory and so on. Yeah. And then
Chaos.
might go from that to I am. Yeah. And it's more stable. There's no story attached to just I am. Yeah? And then it might go from I am to I,
Or just am.
or just am.
Am,
Or
am, am is part of being.
Yeah.
Am is being. Who's being? When you put I on it.
So what's the N one? Am.
M.
Being.
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 Is,
I am, you are.
is
No, but like, if it was like to drop I am, what's the next?
Well, drop all word. There's
Yeah.
no I, there's no am.
Well, can you drop the being? Which part of the verb to be is being? Can you drop that?
Yeah.
Try and not
I
be.
can drop the word.
Yeah,
Yes.
you can't drop the being.
No,
not void. That's my best.
But you don't need, but
one up.
you don't need to actually say I am
Mm.
to know that there's being.
No.
Yeah, but at least that I am is, at least it gets sharp, it gets a bit more pointy, and you're sitting with the being, with the I am, with the being, and that's all. Until those two words drop off.
Drop as well.
Yeah.
Mm.
And you can't negate that, the being, knowing and wanting to be. That's that you don't have.
Mm. You feel that.
Why do they call it awakening? Why is it called an awakening? Waking from a dream.
Waking to the dream.
To the dream. Yeah. The sleeping dream and the waking dream. But there's no one to awaken. It's just recognise, like when you wake up in the morning, there's no one in the dream that has awoken. But there's an awakening, there's awake.
That's how I say it. You're dreaming a dream you call the world. And he says, stop looking for ways out. We're always trying to get out of the dream or change the dream or something. And he says, the dream is not your concern. Your concern is that you love one part of the dream and not the other. So see it all as dream and you've done all you need to do and the rest will be done for you, and that's the important thing. Life will take and we resonate, we'll do what you've got to do. But we're constantly dividing like everything else. We want one part, the good part, and not the bad. Well,
You would take that dream to be so substantial, whatever it is, and that the personalised dream I'm talking about, the history, the memory, the story, we take that to be so real. Yet, if you literally look around the room, here, now, what part of this space or what part of this room does that dream affect? Is it having any impact or any effect on this here, now?
No.
Does the dream when you're asleep at night and having a dream, does it have any impact on this here, now? No. Yet we believe it to be substantial and so important. Like so important. They're nothing. You can't stand next to a tree and see what impact your dream has on a tree. Really?
Couldn't care less.
Yeah. Doesn't even know you're dreaming.
Doesn't know of me.
Yeah. Mm. character in the dream when you're asleep seems so bloody real. That's why you experience fear in a dream. If someone's chasing after you, trying to kill you, you know, it seems so real in the dream. And you can't awaken in the dream. It's not the dream that awakens to what's happening. And this so-called waking dream, the character seems so real because we experience fear, you know, anger, discontentment, separation, isolation, same things that the character in your dream experiences and seems so real.
But this consistency here, and probably that makes it more real because it continues on.
Yeah.
You said the dream is sort of, you know, it's different all the time. So we take that as a dream.
Yeah.
And then this one, because it's consistency, we think that this is real and that one is not.
Yeah.
And that's where the mistake is. It's
Yeah.
not. They're both the same.
Yeah. They manifest the same way.
Yeah.
You know.
But even the dream at night, you don't really take it as a dream while
No,
dreaming.
not exactly
No.
right.
Sometimes.
Exactly right.
It's easy to judge when you wake
Yeah.
up.
Once you wake up, yes.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, you wake up.
And then if you wake up from this, then you know both are
It's a
dreams.
dream.
Yeah, then it's obvious. Then it's
Yeah,
easy to judge.
that's it.
Then you can laugh about it. When you're in it, you can't laugh about it.
No, because it seems real.
Exactly.
My granddaughter, I think I've told you this before, she asked me once if this is a dream. And I said, yes, it is. She said, well, why is it when I hit my head on the tree, it hurt? I said, well, because it feels that way. But she goes, well, I think that's why it's real, because I felt the pain. And I said to her another day, because she was talking again, I said, you know the night dream, when you dream? I said, you dream and you don't think it's real. I said, it's the same as the day. She goes, no, but the night one, I watch it. Okay.
How old is she?
5.
How's that?
They're very close to it.
Yeah. And I thought, okay, I say no more.
Yeah.
Not touching her. Yeah. She's 5. Yeah.
Mm.
It's so, it seems so hard and it's so easy and it seems hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's there and we don't see it until we see it and then we think, whoa, all that for what?
It's hard. It's not even hard for
No,
the
it's-
mind. It's impossible.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when you're trying to get there, well, we don't
Yeah.
get nowhere, but, you know, when you're sort of doing exercise and, you know, watching yourself and whatever, it seems like it's a hard thing, but
Yeah, it's
it then happens so quickly that it's just,
yeah, that's the problem. The seeking is the problem.
Yes,
you
yes,
think
yes.
you can actually find it by
That's right.
seeking, but the very one that is
Yeah.
trying to find it, the you that is trying to find it, is the dream character. It's like Terry was saying, the dream character that is being chased and is afraid of dying. This one is not
Yeah.
gonna wake up.
That's
This one
right.
is not gonna escape. This is gonna just dissolve, completely
Exactly.
disappear. So
Wow.
the one who is trying to seek and find the answers, the ultimate answers, that one is the very veil that is preventing it from revealing itself.
and you see that once you see it.
And then the one who sees that is not the character.
Nah.
Is the
character is
seeing.
just a suit.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
seeing a kind of the sky clears up and the
Exactly.
character just
Like when you wake
The,
up
the,
in the
the,
morning.
the muddy eyes become clear.
yes.
And the hard impossibility kind of scale is just like a minor distraction that drops at some point too, just a little temper tantrum. Hard, impossible, easy, da-da-da. Yeah, get rid of it.
So I'm here now.
Yes.
I'm here now.
Mm.
So I'm awake all the time.
Yeah.
So
Wherever you go, we'll be here and be now. Wherever you go,
yeah.
we'll always be here and now.
Even when you're asleep at night dreaming,
We're just so
you're
used
still here. You're still here now.
I'm still awake if you want to use the word.
Yeah, but the identification is in the dream character. I am that.
And we're so used to assessing our deservability to be here. So we have to assess that we're doing a good job of being here. So, I did do good non-duality today. Or, so that's when we have to put up these scales of, was that difficult, was that easy, how's Joe Blogs doing? Is there such a thing? Yeah, it's just.
So if the character can't wake up, then should the character be reading books? Should the character be going anywhere? Should the character be doing anything?
There isn't
It
a
has no
character.
saying.
But
Has
I
no
know there
saying.
isn't one, but we think there is, right? And that's the one that's doing things at the moment.
No, it's not. It's not.
I understand it's not.
No, but you don't.
Okay.
No, but you don't.
All right.
It's not that. If there is no character, if
Mhm.
there is no me, and there's reading happening, then there's just reading happening. You can't attribute it to an illusory character, something that isn't. You can't attribute any of the doing, or reading, or seeking to that.
Is the character breathing or growing your hair
No.
or digesting food? Is
No.
character is not doing it. Same, the character is not doing any other thing. The character only takes credit for doing those things.
Okay.
Like mind trying to find mind with mind. Wash away blood with blood. Doesn't happen.
Gotta be careful putting the microphone. I got some serious threats from the YouTube comments that if I will put that face, somebody will come and smack me in the face.
What?
Yeah, people do it. People do it. Just wanted them to hear Bob. And,
You need to put an ice cream on the end of it. You might get a reaction that way.
yeah.
Yeah, we look for the answer in the mind. What with mind?
So the individual only makes itself more real by reading the books and all that, because it's sort of going away from the truth of who it really is. 'Cause it's-
Seemingly.
Seemingly. Okay.
Because it doesn't have any saying.
Has this, yeah.
Okay.
Can't choose. It can't choose to reassure itself or not reassure itself. It's just how the consciousness plays out.
That's just what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No,
all
you
that can
do-
happen as long as there's no searcher there. I mean, you can do all this reading, but the idea that there's no person investigating.
Yeah, that would be the
It's just
smart thing
happening.
to do, not
Yeah,
to take
but-
credit.
But without the person there, you wouldn't read.
You wouldn't need to, so to speak.
Okay.
Not necessarily. There are writers, musicians who are reading, writing, and making music. It's like everything's happening. I mean, yeah, if there was no person,
I'm talking about seeking.
yes.
Yeah, no,
If that
yeah.
dropped,
Yes.
the need to read anything from that point on is just
Wouldn't be there.
But reading may still happen. I mean, you may still watch the movie, you may still listen to music, but the agenda that goes with it is gone. Like you may read the beautiful poetry of non-dual poetry or whatever other books or music, but you don't want to get something or become someone because you know that you already that.
just an appreciation of it.
That's okay. Yeah, that's
Or, gee, that's written beautifully. Or that was spoken beautifully.
End of story.
I was noticing yesterday that it was sort of, when I first came to Australia, it's like, oh, every day is a holiday, yay, I'm a tourist, whatever. It's just everything was wow. And I'd forgotten that, and then I look around, oh, that's wow. And then it was really more moments of, oh, it's wow being in the world, the world is a holiday. Like, whoa, whoa. Like a lucky break.
I want what she's got.
Yeah.
The world is a holiday.
It just pisses off a lot here, but when it does show, it's nice.
So happening is just happening as like in a reflection in a mirror.
All of it is a reflection. It reflects itself in form, the emptiness. It has
So the-
3D mirror.
It's
So the
like,
body
yeah.
just came here. There was no you to come here. Basically, isn't it? That's what you say. The body just came here, but there was no you.
Didn't even come.
Yeah, the coming happened.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Nobody did that.
Even before the body came, the coming happened.
Just happened.
Say that again.
That's right.
that same energy that's moving the body, that's moving the earth around us, and to come or do what it do, cause the thoughts to happen. Is there a thinker thinking a thought? Or is it just thinking?
Or is there someone responsible for the content of your dream when you're asleep at night lying on your bed? What's responsible for that? All that dream content that happens, including the idea of a dreamt character that's in the dream. Who's doing all that? And then it seems really real too, yeah, but what's responsible for all that? You?
No, it just happening. So
Right, so does this. So does this.
I dream a lot. As soon as I close my eyes, I dream.
Yeah. But so does this.
It just appears.
There's no doer. There's no me
You don't go anywhere, you don't do anything.
choosing
it
to
just
think
appears.
or choosing to do anything. Even the manifestation, if you like, of thoughts that seem to produce a separate, so-called isolated individual. It's got nothing to do with the separate, so-called isolated individual. Those thoughts are also a pattern of energy, just like in the dream. They're a pattern of energy. And there's no you doing it in the dream when you're asleep, and there's no you doing it now when you believe yourself to be awake. And it's seeing that, literally seeing that occur.
So there's no you, period. That's it.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Absolutely. None. And no other either. So all that's happening right now is there's speaking and hearing. Or speaking and hearing.
Yeah.
And that, both those things are just spontaneously happening. Doesn't have to be a me there to be speaking.
And that's I think where probably the problem lies, because it's the mind always tells you, well, there has to be a somebody behind it, you know, like there's cause and effect, you know. There's got to be somebody there doing it.
Yeah. So all you
That's
do.
how what our mind, our conditioning tells us, you know.
Great. So all you do is go looking for that one.
Yeah.
Go looking for that one that believes it's the speaker, or it's the listener, or the seer, or the hearer, toucher, smeller, whatever. Go looking for that one. See what that is. You will see it's just another personalised pattern of thoughts. That's all it is. Belief. That's all it is. Now, are you that? Just a pattern of thoughts? Why not? Why couldn't you just be that? What's wrong with that?
Well, I don't know. I suppose I don't know for sure.
Well, it's because intuitively or innately you know that you're more than that.
And because you're aware of that.
And you're aware of it. So you can't be that you're aware of.
Because there's the separation. There's the aware, the guy's aware, and there's the thing that's been aware.
Yeah, if you like. But there's like two parts to this. One part's relatively elementary, and that is at least becoming aware that thoughts just come and go. Okay? And I can't choose it, and I can't switch it off. It just happens. Yeah? We're encouraged to do that when we first sit in meditation. Yep, sit there, close your eyes, and just watch your thoughts coming and going. Try not to get involved, just let them float through. Okay? It's fairly elementary. Okay? The harder thing to see is that personalised pattern of thoughts that's there, that believes it's a me, or that believes that I am. That's harder to see than just the thoughts that are floating through, because what happens is when we start to at least become aware of the thoughts that float through, we attribute that awareness of being able to see the thoughts that float through as me that can see the thoughts that float through, and that's a mistake. It's not me that sees the thoughts that flow through at all. So that me that's taking ownership of being here and being aware of thoughts that just flow through, that needs to be investigated. What's that?
You got to take the me out of the equation.
You can't take the me out of the equation, but you can see
See it.
Just see it for what it actually is, what it really actually is. And we use all sorts of pointers here, you know, the amnesia one, tap you on the shoulder, all your memory's gone. Yep, so there's no thoughts, no thought of self, can't even recognise yourself in the mirror. Love that one, Kat. You can't, you don't even know, you don't even recognise your face. Yeah? Your whole history is completely wiped. So what is it that we'd actually be wiping if that occurred? Memory, thoughts, ideas, beliefs, image, the whole, that would get wiped. Yeah? Then where would Tony be? Would there be a Tony left? No. So what's Tony?
Got an idea.
What is Tony then?
Thoughts, ideas.
Only.
ideas.
Only. So, and there's a pattern there that seems awfully close, especially when you start to come into this, because we start to we don't even know we're doing it, but we're taking ownership of being aware. Oh yes, now I see that. Yeah, I see thoughts just come and go, and I'm not the creator of it, and so on and so on. That's still a me there saying that. I'm not saying that the thoughts aren't being seen, but they're not being seen by a me. But we think it is. And that needs to be seen. That one that's claiming ownership of, yep, I'm aware of thoughts. That one that's claiming ownership of that. That needs to be seen. So the first part's fairly elementary. That second part is more difficult. But can be seen.
Do we have time for one more question?
Go for it. Absolutely.
Just want to make sure if I'm aware from the leaves, if I'm aware of the leaves and thoughts and emotions, is it enough for those stuffs which are not true self, which is awareness? I mean, actually I should say, are they going to evaporate?
Evaporate.
Yes, yes. By just witnessing of these stuffs. Eventually they evaporate and disappear and are free. Is that a true understanding?
Do you want to go, Kat?
Bob, you want to talk on it?
I'm happy to.
Yeah, if you're watching, you are aware of thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and you're watching them. The process of watching, will that make it evaporate? And is it what it is all about?
No, actually, I think he was saying that if he comes back to the me that's, as Terry said, if he keeps coming back to that me that's aware of those thoughts and things, will things evaporate? Am I getting close?
Will the emotions evaporate or the me?
The thoughts.
You know,
Have another crack.
Yeah.
Other than you.
Okay, so you want the thoughts to not show up, you want no feelings?
Actually, repeat the question again. You know, I'm awareness,
Yes.
and other than awareness, anything else is not true self.
It's Maya, yes.
Yes.
Illusion.
If I stay there and do not involve in anything, thoughts, emotions, anything, are they eventually in time going to lose their energy and evaporate and wipes out? And now I'm free.
Who's free?
You're free already.
I don't think so at the moment, but
Yeah, you don't think so. But being free from
I'm trying
thoughts.
to experience it.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, Bob, you want to have a crack at this?
Well, just What's he saying?
Eventually, as you stay on with the awareness, not engaging with thoughts, feelings, and emotions, are they going to lose the sting and eventually evaporate, so you're completely free as the awareness without them?
Well, what's that awareness going to do? What can awareness do?
Well, awareness is energy.
You're not unaware right now, are you?
I'm aware.
You're aware.
Yes.
Okay. What did you have to do to get that awareness to be
Be
there?
aware.
What did you have to do to be aware?
You know, it's just not something to do.
No.
No.
Exactly.
So, when you recognise that, that's where the thoughts, feelings, and emotion, everything appear on that, don't they?
Yes.
So, what happens if they don't? What happens? Where the thoughts, feelings, and emotion go when you're in deep sleep before you dream?
You know, I'm totally disabled to keep in touch with these things during the sleep. It's impossible to know what you don't think. You don't exist.
No. But when you wake up in the morning, you'll say, "I slept well." How would you know? How would you know what was going on in sleep?
Because I'm doing the verb of waking up and now.
Well, after you've woken up, but before you wake up and you're in deep sleep, and you don't know you're in deep sleep until. But was that awareness there in deep sleep?
Yes.
Yes. So,
Otherwise,
well, there it is, as you answered, and thoughts, no thoughts or anything going on at that particular period. Now, with the thoughts must come and go. Where are yesterday's thoughts now?
well, there exists still in I don't know, in this space they always exist because I think because I give them energy and awareness is their energy, but you know, my understanding is if I if I stay and just watch them, I think that's enough for awareness and emotion.
But who would be staying and watching?
Sorry.
Who would be staying and watching them?
Who will be staying and watching them?
You say if you stay and watch the thoughts. Who?
It cannot be something other than knowing. It's something that knows.
Right, exactly. The knowing, awareness is knowing. It's being, knowing, and loving to be.
Yes, that's right.
And even if you don't watch them, they will change also, because change is inevitable. So that everything is constantly changing. But I think I know, when you actually stay as the awareness and you see everything that appears on the screen of consciousness and you don't engage with it, you don't say it's good or bad, you don't push it or you don't want it, there is no clinging, resistance, attraction, none of it. They will move on faster than they would normally move on. They will disappear, dissolve faster than when you engage and give them energy, positive or negative energy, when you kind of feed them. But is there a possibility for the appearance to completely fade away and disappear, just like you go to sleep? Apparently there is. There are states like samadhi and places where the mind goes completely inactive, the senses go completely inactive.
So witnessing is the only way that we can free ourselves from anything, which is not us.
Not really, because it's a recognition, not witnessing. Witnessing is some sort of a
Implication into somebody there to witness.
yes. And recognition is instantaneous. Like right now, you can recognize that witnessing is part of the appearance. If there is any witnessing going on, that's a part of Maya, of the whole illusion. And there is a knowingness about all the processes, including the witnessing. And the recognition that, oh my gosh, this is all already just play of consciousness. Nobody is doing anything. There is no me doing anything. There is no me watching it. It's just that play, just that moment as it is. That recognition is not something that you could practice. That's not observing. Observation may be a beautiful practice of mind training or concentration or meditation. They can give you a lot of nice side effects.
But they cannot cause recognition, is that what you're saying?
No, nothing can cause recognition. Because, like, if there is a me who can do certain things to recognize, that is all bullshit, because the me is a fiction. It's only the mind that could possibly believe that there is an action that the dream character can do that will affect the waking state. It's impossible. So the individual, whether they are observing or doing whatever, doesn't really matter, because individual is a fiction. It's dreaming that is doing things. The awakening comes from consciousness.
Tell me, all that's been going on, were you unaware at any time? Just when what you've just been saying.
In the last few minutes.
Have you been unaware at any time?
Definitely.
The things that have come and gone are not you, because they're changing, but the awareness is constant. You can't give it any shape, or even to call it awareness, any shape, any pattern, any form, but you can't negate it. Can you say you are not?
No.
No. So if you're not, you must be.
That's right.
So is it really going to matter if thoughts, feelings, emotions are going to come on? If you know that the essence they're appearing on, and they couldn't appear without that essence, the awareness, then they can love that too. Be happy to be.
And a question you could ask yourself is, who wants to know? Who wants to know if the thoughts, feelings and emotions are going to dissipate? Who wants to know that? Isn't that the mind trying to figure it out?
I think so.
Yeah.
I find it's just part of the play, because here there is often a noticing, that it's just an occurrence that notices some of the character of these things and then notices them disappear. And others, there might not be, they might just say, oh shit, geez, I just don't have that thing triggering me anymore, that's interesting. And and both happen with everybody probably as well,
But
to different degrees.
okay, because that's
It's just happening.
if it happens in a very high degree, is that recognition?
Either way, recognition is just, oh my god, that just happened, I wasn't there, nothing. That's recognition. But there was no I, it was just this, and nothing can be said about it. It's just a moment.
There it is.
And yeah,
There it is. Bang.
Thank you, everybody. I
Thank
just
you.
been a little bit more confused, but I realized that I was in a big
Story.
misunderstanding since last
Look,
time.
when
No,
Kat,
that's important questions.
when Kat was talking about recognition, yeah, it's the same recognition that happens when you wake up in the morning from the dream. It's absolute recognition.
before anything else clocks into your head.
Absolute recognition.
Yeah.
But the character in the dream doesn't recognise it, does it?
No.
Your dream character, when you're asleep at night on your
Doesn't
bed,
wake up.
it doesn't wake up. The recognition doesn't happen for the dreamed character, but the recognition is when one wakes up from the dream in the morning. Again, this is a pointer, but absolute recognition. Oh, it's a dream. Yeah, it might even take a moment for your heart to settle down if you were being chased by somebody, trying to kill you. Yeah.
Before the next thought that I woke up and noticed this, before that thought clocks in. Just
I've got a question, maybe Bob, you want to answer that. Someone is asking, you as awareness, who is the awarer of that?
Awareness is just spontaneous. No, it's life itself, it's being,
Yeah.
it's knowing, it's loving to be. Not a thing. No thing, no shape, no form. But negate it if you can.
know to yourself.
Beauty.
Keep answering the same question over and over and over again. It's
That's
beautiful.
that's right. Yeah, in so many different ways.
It's great.
But it's still difficult for mind to understand.
It's impossible.
The mind can't.
You cannot.
It's just a moment of rest, really.
That's the answer.
The mind's in
That's
a
the
free
trouble.
fall.
That's the-
The mind's in a free fall.
Bob wants to
because,
say.
That's the problem.
You know, the mind's in a free fall because its parameters are me and you, happy, sad,
Dualistic.
pleasure, pain, higher, lower. That's its parameters.
Duality.
It's
Right.
dual,
That's
so it
it.
can't know.
So how can it know non-duality?
No.
What the rest, what the rest feels like.
That's not possible for mind.
Not
Okay,
possible.
so full stop.
So
Yeah,
you stop
stop
looking
thinking.
at it.
Stop.
You stop looking at it.
Did you want to say something?
Well, back when you said it's difficult, that's not, who's it difficult for?
Who is it difficult for?
Probably something other than
The mind.
awareness.
Probably,
So-
definitely.
So it's neither easy nor difficult. Because that's concepts you put on it, labels. But it just is. What is means it's unaltered, unmodified, uncorrected. Just as it is right now.
Unaltered, unmodified, uncorrected. My favourite 3 words.
It's just when
Yeah.
the resistance doesn't show, you have rest.
So if I've been coming here a while and I've seen through the me, seen through the I, would I need to keep coming?
Oh, why do you?
You don't have any choice.
Yeah.
Why do you?
Maybe you don't.
Maybe,
You're still here.
yeah, but
For
it's
now.
like, but if if you come here for a few years and I've seen through it, like, then there must be some part of that being needing to keep recognising.
Well, if you want to put that story on it, you could put that story on it, or you just accept. Just turn up.
It's a drawing one way or the other.
I'm just
Who knows
here.
what form there are stories.
Doesn't have to be a reason for it.
You can sort of say a story that might seem accurate, but it's
Yeah,
still a
let it
story,
come
you
on.
just know that.
Yeah. It just feels like I need to keep getting recharged with it or something.
Well, that's all right.
I see it as I've been
Well,
almost 20 years
so you-
coming.
So you start recharging yourself. You might be able to recognise recognition, meaning to recognise. That means you must have cognised it along the way somewhere. Each and every area, the same. A cognising emptiness, they call it. But that you seemingly lose sight of it. Well, you need to recognise it, see it again, and again, till that stability is there.
And that stability will. It's
Well-
hard to talk in here because it's always like.
Yes.
That's all right. But talk
But
anyway.
it will deepen that. If
Yes.
for just using a word.
It's a way of life. That's as much as I say. This is just a way of life.
Outside you've got a cloud over the sun. Cloud seemingly blocking the sun. When the cloud disperses, what's there? More clarity. The sun's not being obscured. The same with that. If you're not obscuring that life that you are with all the concepts and ideas, there's more clarity there.
More sun.
Yeah, and when you're in the sunlight, you don't necessarily want to go back into the darkness, do you?
Some of us show up as snails and some show up as genies, poof, it just happens. With nothing preceding it,
And Bob's been talking about this since the 70s. He's had thousands of people in and out of these rooms since the 70s, and when every time that pointing happens, it's a beautiful thing. It's all fresh and new every time. And being around people that are on the same page, I know there is in reality no one, but there is only one. It's just a joy. It's a joy. Why would you want to be anywhere else on a Sunday morning?
I think, like Terry before, he said, things just happen. He said, there's no you. Well, I've heard that 100 times, I hear from him, from Bob. But then you sort of go back to I'm doing it, you know. Go back to the me doing it, you know. It's like a refresher all the time until the penny drops.
And there's a travelling lighter. You know, you walk out of here and there's a travelling lighter. You know, and every time you see who you're not, you know, is a travelling lighter. And like Dave said, it's a way of life.
All you could say is that life, if you like, becomes totally uncomplicated. It's not complicated because there's no one to complicate.
Effortless.
Just things are just constantly, spontaneously happening. Now the irony is, it was always that way. Always that way. Even when one was a seeker, it was always that way. But then me would step in and go, I don't like this. I don't like the way this is manifesting. Or I don't like the way you're manifesting, or this is happening, or that. And we go into a big story around what is.
Or is that all there is?
Yeah, because all seeking requires a trial.
Yeah.
So that's the me.
Yeah.
And that falls away.
Yeah. And then it just becomes uncomplicated. Just stuff happens, and stuff is just constantly happening as it always did or does.
So the wind doesn't make the yacht go.
Eh?
We don't claim the wind is doing
Yes.
Okay, Bob.
Yes.
Okay, time's caught up with us. Well and truly.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you.